Really? You hoes. You dirty people.
It's not even close in my opinion. Hey guys, welcome back to Bizarre Anime Vibes. I'm your host Jofu, and I'm here with
The Trip Nights.
And in today's episode, we are talking about anime, comedy, and how that translates over to the West. We thought that was a really good topic with how a lot of controversy has been up with certain aspects of anime, comedy, and humor and all that. And yeah, just to dive into all that.
Yeah, because, comedy is subjective. Like, around you, like, if you go to Florida, some jokes you can make in Florida are not jokes you can make if you go to Europe. Or some jokes you make in Europe are definitely jokes people won't understand if you go to, like, Australia. That's why comedy is an art, but also comedy...
It's culture-based as well.
Yeah.
It plays a big factor to it. Yeah. How are you doing today?
My day? Very warm here in Georgia. Anime remix. And except for that, I wish I wore different pants. I wish I wore shorts or at least looser pants.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like summer weather seeming, but next week we're about to get hit with this cold wind.
That and pollen. Pollen sucks.
Yeah,
Tough.
the weather here is just so left and right.
It's inconsistent, but I'd rather be here than anywhere else. Because try to name another Georgia state, or not Georgia state, try to name another United States state that has better weather than Georgia.
Florida.
Tornadoes, hurricanes, floods.
Cali? I'm joking. That's a joke. That's a joke. I knew that right away. There's definitely better ones.
Like in the literal ranking, Georgia is ranked number 2 behind Arizona.
Well, there you go. That's your answer.
Arizona. The only reason Arizona is good is because there's a lot of like white old people that don't do pollution, and also, okay, this is good. Point being, Arizona, their summers aren't that hot, but their winters are so mellow. It's beautiful.
I think we're gonna have to censor all of that out for the final cut because, oh my god.
Yeah, censor that.
Okay, well, my day's fine. Just a bit exhausted because we went to this event called Trap Sushi last night and had a good time. If you're in the Atlanta area, check it out for sure. I had a great time. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, it was a nice rave party. I mean, it was music was nice.
Food was good.
The ladies were beautiful.
Well, with that being said, is there anything else you want to say?
I guess, okay, if I had to say something, I would probably say thank you, everyone, for your support. Without any of you guys, we would not be what we are today.
We'd just be two guys with anime thoughts that no one will get to hear. So, once again, thank you to all of you for tuning in, whether that's leaving a like, watching a second video, watching a full video, commenting, whatever it is. We appreciate it.
And actually, this is like little, so we can come back to you and, so we can entertain you. If you guys want us to ever do like a live event in a convention of your choice that's in the United States, and
we're going to be at MomoCon. And so we're going to do a little event where we go around asking people questions. And we've done a previous video on this about AWA. So if you guys want to be a part of that or excited to, then yeah, go see us then.
all you gotta do is find our vendor hall and find us in the vendor hall. And then we'll probably be there ready to record.
Yeah. All right, that being said, one last thing, guys. Don't forget to colossal smash that like button to stay up to date with all our videos and subscribe. So that way you can just see everything.
Of course. I mean, stay up to date. Be ready for when we upload every Tuesday.
So, without further ado, let's dive in.
So, with comedy being subjective, that we already stated, and also the fact that Japanese culture is very different than Western culture, I still like to believe, or at least there are some jokes in anime that just made me die of laughter.
Yeah, I feel like...
Well, that don't, and also that do.
Yeah, like... I feel like there's some things... I can't think of one right now, but there's examples of, like, jokes in anime where they're not even jokes. They're just, like, normal stuff, but we find it funny. Like, because it's like, oh, we're not accustomed to that culture, you know what I mean? Or we find things weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think one of the... things that I find interesting is the cultural difference and how there will be some things we find weird or funny and stuff that in Japan they don't find weird or funny. You know what I mean? Because it's a normal custom there. One of the examples that comes to mind is in JoJo Part 4. The scene where Kira he takes a bath with his son, even though it's not his son.
Oh.
I know a lot of my friends thought it was weird that a father was like, take bath with his son, like full nude and washing each other's backs and stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, that's a normal thing in their culture there.
Right, because they have like mixed.
Yeah, like all of that, but just in general to like family to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Go over there like a father and taking a bath together, you know? Even in part three where, and I remember specifically one of our friends referred, he thought this was really weird, where Polnareff got turned into a kid and that random lady just took him in to take care of him. I feel like that's a normal thing, especially after visiting Ethiopia. You'd see like people taking if you see a lost child, you take him, take care of them. You know what I mean? Make sure they're good and take them back to where they were.
yeah. It's only really in America because I guess.
Kidnapping,
I mean, in Japan, literally, you see kids
walking to the
walking,
kindergarten by themselves.
like going on trains by themselves, just
Exactly.
going to stores by
With
themselves.
how heavy the crime is in America, I understand why we would see it differently, but also we need to understand the culture there is completely off, and like crime is so much lower, to where
Right.
people aren't really worried about like. I mean, it's still a problem, like child kidnappers or traffickers or all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, of course, because no matter we're safe, but
Hmm.
like you would physically never see half things you see in Japan in America,
Oh, for sure,
or at least specifically in
and
the
vice
West.
versa, because you ain't seen no gun in Japan unless it's an officer.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
But we're not trying to talk about gun control. That's a whole nother controversial political
that
debate. So one of the other things that you think of that doesn't translate well in terms of culture here.
for me,
Hmm.
I would say food. Some food jokes.
Anime food?
Yeah,
Okay.
like some
Can you
of
give
the like
examples?
there are some times where they make jokes on like when they're cooking with fried rice, and
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Oh, you're overcooking the fried rice," and then like a specific example comes
Toradora?
Toradora.
Okay.
There's there's a joke that was trying to be made there while the main character was cooking. When I watched it in the sub, I didn't get it. I really didn't honestly
Okay.
understand what's going on, and I even read the text.
Hmm.
But it was when the dub translation. I don't know what they did. They probably may have changed some words around so I can
Hmm.
understand it better. It didn't give me the laugh, but at least I understood.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a big thing, like just translation jokes and stuff, because not everything makes it past translation. Like a great example that comes to mind for me is major spoilers for One Piece. So heads up,
For the
uh,
manga or for the anime?
anime. I feel like everyone knows this at this point, but still, it's a big
Which part of the anime?
Marineford.
Okay.
So big spoilers. I feel like everyone knows this at this point. Ace is dead. So if you remember, Sabo had amnesia after getting knocked out as a kid, like his ship blowing up, and that's why he didn't remember Ace or Luffy. And so everyone thought that like when he saw Ace's body in the newspaper, that triggered him to remember everything. That was not the case.
Really?
That played only a small factor into a larger picture that you could only understand if you understand the Japanese context behind it. So, if you remember, Luffy, Ace, and Sabo, they all shared a glass of, or a cup of sake together to unite themselves as brothers, right? And in the tradition, what is it called? I believe it is the tradition there. It is that like bonding of brothers. It is known as Sakazuki, right? Now, let me tell you this: you're reading a newspaper, and you see that Ace killed, and you recognize the face, obviously, right? You also see Luffy, and you're like, wait, this makes sense. But then you see the person who killed Ace was named Sakazuki. Akainu's real name is Sakazuki. So by seeing that, it was a mixture of all three things. Because if he saw Luffy and Ace, he might be like, I've seen them before, but it's like a deja vu thing. But by specifically seeing the Sakazuki,
Sakazuki.
or it may, like I believe that's what it was. I know that's his real name, but seeing that and then remembering the tradition, that's what was the click he needed to remember. And then he goes into a full panic because his brother's dead and all that. But yeah,
Huh.
I believe the term is Sakazuki. It was Akainu's. It was either Akainu's like Akainu or it was Sakazuki. I believe it was Sakazuki though, because that's his real name, and it sounds like the name of the tradition they did to unite themselves.
I wonder how they did it in the dub.
Oh, they just said him seeing Ace and Luffy in the newspaper. They played it off like that's what triggered it, but the hidden meaning, like the real reason why,
Because
the name in the newspaper of the one who killed Ace was what really gave him that final click he needed. Because even if you
then
look at
how
this,
would you translate it if you're trying to translate it so everyone understands the meaning?
you don't. They just gave up because there's no. They can't change Akinu's name to like re,
Sakayu.
like yeah or like yeah like there's no like term for us here. You know what I mean? Where like we don't have one where it's we all share a drink to unite ourselves as brothers. You know, there's no
Yeah.
like tradition for that here.
Well, I mean, technically speaking, you know, like the thing of like you cutting your hand and then you
Yeah, okay, Ace was killed by blood truth. Like, what do you
what?
mean? Like, I know what you're saying, but there's no like tradition we have here. By that's anywhere near the same as like sake. So because of that, they couldn't really do that, so he just had to go off. But if you look at the scene itself, he literally looks at Ace, and then he sees like Luke's picture, and he's like having like his brain's hurting. But then he sees the Akino, and that's what like he freaks out then. Like they show that scene specifically.
So that's okay.
Yeah, so that's
So
an example of like a translation thing that we wouldn't get in the dub, or if you didn't understand the Japanese.
yeah, because in the Western, yeah, Western audience would, yeah, dang, I
Yeah.
never really ever thought about that way.
So that's one of my favorite examples because you miss out on a whole new like
New
level of
meaning.
text. Yeah, because people are like, oh, I mean, amnesia plots are dumb in most series. So like Saba having amnesia for his all of pre-time until after Ace's death, and that's what triggered it. It felt kind of like because Sabo was a big revolutionary, and how did he never hear of the upcoming pirate Monkey D. Luffy and the second in command of Whitebeard's commander fleets, Ace?
But yeah,
Like that feels like you would. So he's probably heard of Ace. You know what I mean? He may have heard of Luffy, but it's just like, oh, deja vu. Like, have I seen them somewhere before?
you know, I've heard of them, but you never see their face, maybe.
Pardon?
Like he maybe heard of them, but you never saw their
Wanted
face.
posters. But even then, yeah,
Oh,
maybe he
what? Yeah.
never even saw their face. You know what I mean? He just saw the name. But it's the Sakazuki. I believe again, it could have been Akino or whatever Sakazuki's like other name, like his maybe his last name or first name, or I can't remember which.
That reminded him of the
That's what
Song
because
Cup
it sounds
Cannibal.
like the tradition that they did as kids. So I thought that was a very interesting example of translation from East West that doesn't really correlate and we don't get understand.
That is actually really a solid example.
Yeah.
I guess to kind of piggyback on there, um, do you kind of remember the Panty and Stockings?
Opinion stocking, yeah.
Do you kind of remember how, like, if you basically watched the show, but you watched it with like English
English subtitles.
subtitles from the Japanese
Japanese.
transition, and you actually hear what the voice actors are
Mhm.
saying, it is phenomenal how much different it is.
Really. I haven't seen the opinion stocking sub, just the dub. So I can't really comment on that. So please let me know.
So let's see. Um, wow, there's really not many words I could say from the show that wouldn't get censored here on this show. However, though, of course, you want to watch it, 18 older.
Go crazy. Life's short. It has a lot of adult themes. That's what we're gonna say.
We are not promoting it. That's the main point.
We're not commenting on it in terms
That's
of who should and shouldn't watch it.
yes. However, though, we watched it, and I gotta say, the jokes landed perfectly in
In
the
the dub,
dub.
oh yeah, the
It
dub
was
feels more natural because it's supposed to be a sat. I'll say this: it's supposed to be a satire on American animation. So making the dub, you know,
yeah, so it makes sense why it did poorly in Japan.
yeah,
Well, in America,
we loved it because it's literally like what we see on our TV, what we grew up with, all that stuff,
yeah,
but in a mocking but like clever type of way.
it literally had. It reminded me so much of Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's
Yeah,
Lab,
exactly. Early net Cartoon Network.
yeah, or very much of
Yeah.
and like how it's like spread like 11 minutes per episode,
So you get like again, which is how most cartoons were here.
and
I,
also like it's not episodic. Like,
it's also I'll say this though,
oh no, is it? What's it?
it's episodic for the most part. There's an overall story going on, but it's not very like it's
It's not.
mostly episodic.
Yeah,
There's a story building up, but you can honestly watch almost any episode and
in random order, and you'll
yeah.
be fine.
I will say this, it was a bit weird seeing Mountain Lady talk about all the sexual stuff she was gonna do. Because that's Handy's voice actors, Mountain Lady. And now it clicks. You hear it now. They have the same dub voice actor.
Really,
You really can't hear it?
I heard Boma and Stalking. They have the same
Okay.
English voice actor, but I didn't know about Panty and Mountain Lady.
Mountain Lady.
Mountain Lady.
Yeah. Come on, seriously think about Mountain Lady from the first episode. And then think of
Huh. That is
yeah.
wow. That's surprising.
I feel like it was obvious. I got it like after the second episode. I'm like, I've heard her voice before. Oh wait, this is Mountain Lady.
I thought I never heard their voice before.
Really?
Yep.
You need to pull up a clip of
I mean, of course, I knew about the guy with the big head, his dome. Like that's Vegeta's voice actor.
that. Yeah.
That one.
I didn't know. I mean, I hinted like All Might and Zoro. So and Vegeta share the same So I didn't like think Vegeta, but I thought the voice actor.
Which now it makes sense why he didn't say the N word, because he couldn't. But at the same time, it would have been hilarious if it was a black voice actor and he was just saying, he just went on.
But I feel like also saying you is just accurate because like what context would he have to say that word?
Like I think one of my favorite jokes that in Japanese didn't land. It was like, you guys go to the sink and take a hose. You hose, wash yourself off in the sink.
Yeah,
that was in the dub, but in the sub, it was very much different. It didn't say you hose. It just said you dirty people. Go get clean.
But then they can play off the puns.
Exactly.
Hose because you walk with a hose and they're hose as well.
Exactly, because like you're just saying to go clean, it's not funny. But if you say like you hoes go wash up in the sink, I find that hilarious.
It comes off with more like comedic than it does in the sub, and that's why I always say like if I ever recommend Panty and Stocking to someone, which I rarely do, but if I ever do, I recommend the dub because I feel like at least growing up in America, you get more enjoyment out of that than sub and not getting the jokes.
Honestly, full on yes.
Yeah.
Like I could not imagine watching that sub for the first time, and no, I don't think and most of the jokes would even land. And plus, also like
I understand why I didn't get Rena for a second season until recently. Like I understand why I didn't do well in Japan. Because you have to watch the original, right? And even if you watch it with English dubs, you probably don't understand half those English words because they're not like common in Japanese.
And also like all the alcohol references,
they reference alcohol. There's alcohol in Japan.
No, but like beer, they mentioned a lot about beer.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they ever really said like sake. They said beer. But
I think you can switch that over. Because there's no like specificness with beer. The whole point is it's like a specific alcohol, which is sake as well.
Touche there. But also the metropolitan, the city.
Metro, yeah.
That one looking very, very much like an American city.
Yeah.
Because like.
I mean, you mean like the animation or like the way it's drawn? Or like not the animation. The
like the landscape. Like.
Yeah, I guess.
I say it looks more.
It feels more American, like when I see it. If that's what you're saying. Yeah.
That's why I said.
Yeah. Going back to other stuff that doesn't land. I think sometimes just the way characters talk doesn't really work. I'm going to go back to One Piece for this.
Also.
But like, so in One Piece, Oda likes to have these little like quirks of characters where they'll end their sentences with certain sayings. So, for example, Marco, he ends every sentence with the term "yoi."
What is yoi?
It's just like his way of like his like punctuation of his words.
Mm.
So he'll say a sentence, he'll be like, "Hey," like for example, if we were doing it in English, it would be like, or yeah, he would say something in Japanese like, "Hey, what is it? Blah 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 blah, yoi," right? And then in English, a good like parallel, I guess I could say, is like, "Yo, Pops," or "Hey, Pop said if he wants to do this, yo." You see what I mean? It's like just a way of like ending your sentences with it. It doesn't really work here though, because we don't really do that, you know?
Yeah,
unless you're Jesse Pinkman, in which case you end every sentence with "bitch." But yeah, you see what I'm saying? It doesn't really translate well, so you miss out on a lot of stuff. But in Japanese, as far as I'm concerned, I could be completely off here. They typically do that to give off the type of vibe the character is. You know what I mean? So with Marcos, it's supposed to be like more like cool than laid back. But a perfect example comes from a more recent chapter in the manga. I'm not gonna like. It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna say who it is. So, but there's a character who talks, and in the English translation, they just talk normally, right? But when you see in the original Japanese, the way like her words are punctuated and all that, so she will say something like, for example, in English, it's like, "Hey, did you think it was me? Blah 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 blah. Oh, there only needs to be one, etc., right?" But in Japanese, it would be the way she was trying to talk came off more like, so like totally there only needs to be one. Like I bet there was no freaking way you thought it was me. Like, you see what I mean? She's supposed to have more of like a sass like girl vibe, or like a girl vibe. But
yeah,
the best example of a character where they were able to get away and do that correctly would definitely be Kami from My Hero.
Kami from My Hero?
Yeah. Remember the girl who, during the license, Toga turned into? And like Todoroki and Mako had to get their license again, and she was there.
Oh yeah.
She's always like, "Oh, Mako, you totally suck." Blah blah blah. Like she gives us American like girl energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of like
the American accent team.
Yeah, and like just what is it? The literal dumb blonde trope. Okay. You know? That's the energy she gives. And so I think they translate that really well from the Japanese into the English, where it feels like a lot of times they miss out on that in certain characters.
I get uh,
But also like the ending with the certain sayings, you know what I mean? They
that
can't.
part. I don't think you can really
There's no way to translate that
replicate that.
because there's no way. No, we don't punctuate our sentences with certain things, and also it's like it's supposed to be a joke on Oda's part with like
Yeah,
characters. Like
it's
no one does that there too. But like it's supposed to be like just they have speaking habits.
it's subtle, a nod to people who would understand it in
Yeah,
Japanese culture.
it's like a funny lull, you know what I mean? But
But as for like people worldwide, like I don't think like
it doesn't translate over here well, which kind of sucks.
yeah.
So I think it's time we talk about the big elephant in the room, the most obvious stereotype slash joke in Japanese culture that doesn't translate the best over here. The
Cars,
I was gonna say the character who's always down horrendous, the what is it called? The
a
creep,
sip.
the simp, yeah.
Ah,
I think he can translate well with certain at times, but it gets taken too far sometimes in Japanese culture. The perv character. A great example of a character who takes it way too far is Master Roshi.
what?
I think in OG Dragon Ball, he's always like trying to fall over and look at Bulma's panties, he's always trying to do whatever he can.
I thought you were about to say Sanji.
I was gonna mention Sanji, but I have a good way of like talking about him. And I
Master
think
Roshi is tame in comparison.
joking, right?
No, my man, Master Roshi, I would bail him out from jail.
Yeah, you would
Cause
because you grew up in it, but do you need the list of stuff he's done?
do I need the
Trying
legal?
to trick Law or whatever her name is to like bend over and stuff. Constantly getting Bulma. He literally said, "I will give you a Dragon Ball if you show me your underwear."
Okay,
And then she
in America wise, that wouldn't
that
be good.
that doesn't translate well. The worst Sanji has done is sniff the person, which isn't good. I'm not defending that, and I'm gonna get to that in a second. But that's the worst he's done.
I
Asaroshi
thought
has done that and more.
I thought the worst thing he did was like be invisible in a girl's bathroom or a girl's bathroom.
That that's also up there. Again, I'm gonna get to that in a sec. No, I have an idea. Okay, I mean I don't talk about it right now. Sanji pre Thriller Bark was a perfect use of the simp character. He was respectful women, but also he's down horrendous. So it's funny because it's like, for example, during the Long Ring Longland arc, he what is it? They had to put on the soccer ball on their head. And so like, there's no way I would do this. This is disgusting. This looks stupid. And so it's like, no, I think you look good. He's like, no, I'm not gonna listen to you, Moss. And immediately afterwards, Nami's like, Sanji, I think you look cute. And he's like, I'm the prince. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a really good joke. You know what I mean? It's showing that like he's just down horrendous. But then near the Thriller Bark arc, past that, and specifically post time skip, he turns his character into a whole like he takes it too far with Sanji's character with how far he's willing to go to see stuff and do stuff. Granted,
How are you gonna incapacitate Sanji just because of those?
huh?
How are you gonna incapacitate Sanji from a
Yeah,
fight?
he kind of like a lot of the Straw Hats get ruined post time skip with how their characters are handled. Sanji's not the worst. That goes to Chopper, but
Oh, let me Usopp.
no,
Oh no, Chopper. Yeah, you're right.
Usopp
Dang,
got Dressrosa at least, and there's
that
still
one
Elbaf.
moment. Yeah.
But yeah,
Hey,
no,
hashtag One Piece ain't peak.
good luck. But I was gonna say with Sanji's character, it feels like he took it too far. Like a perfect example of funny like simp type character trope would be Sanji pre-time skip. I would say before Thriller Bark specifically. I think that translates well here. We understand like, he's just he likes women and he's willing to do anything for their approval.
Yeah, like
But
like previously, he is down
he's
bad,
just down
horrendous.
horrendous. Whereas after Thriller Bark and post time skip, he becomes the trope of that people that doesn't translate well here he goes down a more Master Roshi route, like in terms of what he's willing to do and stuff. And because Master Roshi does not translate well here, like in terms of what he does, like as a joke, as a comedic character, as a kid, yeah, we laugh how we don't understand. But like as an adult, you look back at that and you're like, bro, he was just sexually harassing them.
Okay, that that could be debate for another day. Like who's worse, Master Roshi or Sanji? Because I really do
That's
think so.
not a debate, but also, yeah, I mean, if you want to have that another debate, by all means, but
I mean, let us know
it's
in the
not even
comments if you guys
close.
want that. But
It's not even close, in my opinion.
because you see like
Yeah.
a 13-year-old girl in anime.
I think a perfect example of like quote fan service done dirty or like done that doesn't translate well here at all is the My Hero cheerleader scene where Mineta tricks all the UA girls to
Oh,
dress up in very like provocative cheerleader outfits, and it's like I get what they're trying to say because they're in high school and all that, but also especially specifically in the anime. because in the manga they're drawn a lot more like, you know what I mean, realistic in terms of body proportion. But in the anime they just go all out, especially Nejire Hado.
I said Momo.
No, I mean, yeah, Momo's a big one, but Nejire Hado. Momo's just a whole issue with fan service as a whole, but Nejire Hado,
Nedre, who's Nedre?
uh, part of the big three girl. Miri,
Oh, the
the
one with
way
the
she,
tight, like
yeah,
yeah, who
the
does swirlies?
the way she was drawn in the anime when she was first introduced is ridiculous compared to the manga. Look at her. Look at the comparison. That's what I'm saying. It was ridiculous, and it's you can see that with a ton of My Hero characters. Search up Uraraka, search up Momo. Like you're speechless. That's exactly my point. You wouldn't know, but like in comparison, the My Hero anime team just goes way too far. There is a lot of other references in terms of like languages that we don't get that only translate there. For example, if you look at most of the My Hero cast, their names, or even in like most anime, their names are puns in Japanese sayings. Like for example, with All Might, if you search it up, I believe his name, like search up,
Oh, Toshinori.
yeah, Toshinori. It literally means like to save everyone or something like that. Or Uraraka is like nine and like float or whatever. Like their
Oh,
names,
Deku, like how
yeah,
yeah.
their names are Izuku. Like their names literally I forgot what it is, but they translate to stuff that's about the characters. That makes sense.
So it gives you more in depth. Like he does not just choose the names
The
at
name,
random.
yeah. I mean, some do, but like in their case,
Yeah, like probably some like side characters, or not side, but like extra characters.
no, for sure. It's just a ton of like language barriers that we don't get. I will say another thing that doesn't translate well sometimes is the dub, because the sub might say something a specific way or might mean something, and then the dub will have to change it up because, like we're saying, it wouldn't make sense, and it completely changes the joke, the rhythm, something about a scene, even the meaning at times.
I say mostly it's just the meaning that changes because you could listen to a joke and then you'd be like, maybe he doesn't participate. Like you will physically not understand unless you lived in that circumstance.
One thing I'm curious about is this actually hasn't been solved yet. I'm still waiting. Is in the most recent episode of Blue Log. So what happens is obviously show takes place in Japan and all the characters speak Japanese. Most recent episode, they met a ton of American or like other players from around the world, some like that all speak English. So when you meet them, they actually are speaking English to the characters. And
Now they're gonna do what they did with Great Pretender.
how they handle that?
Great Pretender, they did literally the first half, the first episode, they were speaking French.
Mm-hmm.
Then they quite literally said, pause. Now we're going to be speaking in English, but they're actually speaking French. And then they hit play, and the
Could
next thing you
be
know,
the route they go. I think it was just interesting because the way the scene goes out is that all the what is it called Japanese the Japanese players, they don't understand what they're saying. You're like, are they speaking English or something? Oh, wait, what's going on? And then one of the characters goes and speaks English back because he's cool or whatever. And then they have their fight, and then so the main cast is speaking Japanese, while the rest of them are speaking American and American English. And the whole joke is that, or the whole point is that they can't understand each other because of the language barrier. So when they get to the dub, it's going to be really weird how they handle it. They could do the whole thing where it's like, hey, they're speaking Japanese. It's just whatever, or they might have the American players or like the other players around the world speak Japanese to like show the.
but
But
the way American flags will know.
they're from around the world. Some like I think one's from Brazil, one's from Europe, England, one's from America. Like it's all one's from I think Nigeria. Like they all are Liberia.
So, I guess it would be interesting on like
Yeah. When the
what the
dub
dub
catches up.
team.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can't deny that part because what else could I'm not
It's
that
something interesting.
actually. I kind of don't. I can't remember. Um, the school animes. Those
Yes,
sometimes do not transfer
I
well.
was gonna say I was thinking about talking about this, but I completely forgot. Best example is Mob Psycho for me. They're in middle school, but in the middle school, they're like, hey, you guys need to start prepping. Like they were basically prepping them like how in America we prep for college while they're in middle school. Like you got to choose your career right now and all that. And I felt super weird. 'Cause I'm like, aren't they in middle school? Isn't this like a
Oh, you
high
too
school thing?
young?
What source they want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so just the way it's handled there because it's
Like they have no school Americans. Like there's no school bus to pick them up.
yeah, and also the breaks in My
Right.
Hero because they graduate in the spring, and we're like, what do you mean you graduate in the spring?
Like wait, we graduate this spring,
No,
but
like they graduate like I think it's March, end of March, and then
oh,
start at and April 1st or whatever. We graduate at the very end of spring or early summer.
Or like living on campus, or living like in
I
the
mean,
school.
dorms. I mean, that's just a My Hero thing.
That's only my year. The mob psycho doesn't haven't done that.
They don't. No, My Hero does it because they got attacked. Remember? So they built dorms for the
The school
students.
festival.
School festivals. I mean, we had those. We had them at Brookwood or
Really?
at our high school. Yeah, we had the cultural festivals. We went to one of them.
I don't think was it held at the school.
Yeah, where you go around, you, like a ton of students from different cultures go around and show you
I
parts.
remember we had the
There's
whole
food.
club thing. I remember when like different clubs would come
I mean,
out.
that's a different thing, but it was like that, but like with different cultures.
That I do not remember.
Yeah, we had our cultural festival. It's a cultural festival, so it's called, but it's like with school. We never had. I think what you're referring to is like a student day or whatever, or students like where other people from like parents and just anyone from outside could come to the school, and we have to do a little presentation and like have like basically like I guess you're saying like the school festival.
Well, because
We
like
had festivals, just not a school festival.
well, you
So
know, because
you were
like
right.
whenever you see it like in like Communicate how they did the
Yeah,
festival
the
and
school
they had like
festival.
the whole class had to participate into like what do you want to do
Yeah, they
this
even did
year?
it in mob and that.
Yeah,
No,
they all
okay,
did
yeah,
like
you're right.
chose
We
Mad
don't.
Cafe or
Yeah,
Mantis.
we don't have school festivals. We have festivals of different stuff, and we at least at our high school we don't do it, and I don't see it being like normalized here.
Yeah, because we're not like joined together. Like class 1A is gonna do this. Like class one, like we are
Yeah.
quite literally like
I mean, I
I go
don't.
to this club. Yeah,
But overall, I think that's a big difference, and like another big difference. That's a good one.
I think this is the one that just popped in my head
Yeah.
because
I was trying to mention that earlier, like the school systems there are completely different when they graduate, school festivals, how students are treated, and all that.
oh yeah, like how yeah, pretty
I
much.
mean, there's a lot of cultural differences between Japan and America, and at the end of the day, we should try just to not let them ruin the anime too much for us and just appreciate because anime is Japanese entertainment. If we're going to appreciate another or try to take into interest in another culture's form of entertainment, we need to also have that mindset of, yes, this is weird for us, but we can't like
Right,
cancel it, or judge it too
because
hard.
quite literally it is what we said at the beginning. Because
It's another culture's
like
entertainment.
entertainment is subjective.
Yeah. And
Because
also culture just in general is very different around the world. And at least it was my personal belief, if you're going to take interest in any form of entertainment in another culture, you have to also respect certain boundaries of that culture, even if you don't like it.
you know what, I agree.
All
I
right.
agree.
That being said, you guys stay safe and take care.